What it do, everybody? It's your boy King Crowder back again with another edition of History You May Not Know and Things That Are Not Taught in Detail for Show. Today, we're going to go all the way to Apollos, Louisiana, and we're going to go over the case that sparked the Plessy v. Ferguson decision. This happened back around the 17th century. Louisiana was still considered a newer place that was not part of the Americas group. So you must understand, the rigid race structure that we had in the Americas prior to us purchasing that land were extremely different. For example, there was something called a mulatto class. A mulatto class is something you see considerably in Caribbean nations and Africans, where people of fairer skin have a better chance of glowing and being. So, this part in history breaks down why the Plessy v. Ferguson decision came of one drop equals you're all black, no matter the descendants. So the background of this case, you have George Gully. He was a man that was an enslaved owner when he found an enslaved woman he truly liked, known as Mrs. Island from Alabama. As she worked and started to be with him, she began to be his mistress. Now, Joseph, already being married at the time, having 8 children with his current wife. His wife and him lived, worked the farms, and his mistress began to have children. Joseph's wife passed away, and his biological children, what he considered one that he had in his marriage, and his extramarital children, the one he had with his enslaved wife, became to be an issue. The reason why: the mother of that land came from a wealthy side of the family. The court case came up by saying the Negro children did not have any entitled right to the white people's land. What was going on in that law is Louisiana's laws was kind of murky. Louisiana had a statement that saying the 640 acres that was given to Joseph and his family and his children, his enslaved children had no right to purchase or be a part of that land. They even wanted to know that they wanted to put the enslaved children off that land. Joseph cared about his mistress and his children, did not want to do that. So what he began to do was get them under a new rule by saying they are considered mulatto class. George had almost 5 children by his mistress, and he wanted to make sure they were all born and living free. They considered themselves one drop, 1/32 of Negro blood inside of them. Even though their father had passed later on as the subject went, the children had their own freedom. The issue came about when they distinctively left property at the end of their father's death. His children he had through marriage believed that none of his Negro children deserved any rights to this land because they were black. The estate had a legal deceased right, and his oldest son legally conveyed that his mistress' children, the 4 mulatto children, were not allowed to be emancipated, and they did not have any rights to the land. Most people don't realize that the story started in Louisiana when Margarita was living down there, a free woman. His oldest son threatened to have her and her family lineage recaptured into slavery. They were black at the time. It was too many gray areas about what was considered freedom and what was considered not. So the defendants, Marietta and the Gullah and the mulatto offspring, fought saying they have been freed prior to their father's death. They were emancipated, and the plaintiff said they deserved their own freedom. The so-called free slave had their own property given to them by their father, and they had all of their money rights on their own. The reason why this court case became such a huge and beneficial thing was because in the Americas, there is something called a one-drop rule. The mulatto class in Louisiana at the time made it very difficult because they felt that if they had a slave owner father, they should be treated different. However, in the Americas, they made it very clear there is no distinction. So a lot of the colonization that the French had laws around this time did not transfer to the American laws. This court case was so compelling because they were all considered free. But one thing that stayed in the mouth of the people around the Louisiana area is that this negress, as they called her, was ordered to pay the family heir and conform to the following conditions. She had to pay to keep their freedom. She had to stay away. She had to change her name, and she had to agree that they were never ever part of the family. It is a tragedy when you think about it, because she was listed as free, but she fought to be white. But in this time in history, whiteness became a staple that many mulatto children wanted just because they wanted the freedoms and the curiosities. I do not think, and I can understand both sides of them, but it shows how tragedy that tumble of ethnicity and race plagued this country. This story in Louisiana maybe have rocked the boat. If you have not noticed, the story of Plessy v. Ferguson, which started the court case separate but equal, started because the mulatto class in Louisiana felt they were different. As the Americas group began to transform and take on their nationality down there, they made the U.S. government implement that law quickly. They said, we don't care. You're all black. No matter if it's 1/10, 1/4, 1/3, the one-drop rule implements and removes all of that. So in other parts of the world, you will see that the mulatto class is distinct. But from that court case, the mulatto case, Plessy v. Ferguson, America made it very quickly. There is no mulatto class in America. We don't care if you're Spanish, what ethnicity you're from. Even though this court case is over 200 years, the Margarita case, very controversial, very open-ended, you can see this as the foundation to what a Jim Crow South came from. Knowing why these things happen, how they build up, will educate you so you could be able to follow the timeline. Remember, this court case was a confusing part due to the many moving parts in it. The Glory family should also be known as the one that sparked the Jim Crow movement. It's your boy King Crowder. Check him back out. Hopefully you learned something interesting and beneficial. I wanted to come to you because this case is monumental. All my Louisiana family probably has lineage and legacy with this court case. It is very interesting, but it sparks what started the separation in the United States during this time of movements. I hope you learned something. Please make sure you comment, like, and subscribe to the channel. Big time. I'll check out with you. It's your boy. Peace.